Okay, well, it's now time for our press review. We're joined again by Elena Casas. Hello, Elena.
Hello again, Louise.
And it's the Golden Boy again dominating the headlines.
Yeah, French papers have something to celebrate this morning. Of course, the Oscars announcement on Sunday night came too late for Monday's front pages, so they've gone huge today. Look at Le Figaro. Here he is, the very charming Mr. Dujardin on the front page. The artist, the reasons for a Hollywood triumph. Now, inside in their editorial say this is a victory not just for one film, but for French cinema in general, which in last year, 2011, took more money in box office receipts at home here in France than it has at any year since 1967, mostly down to two films, The Artist and Intouchable. And they say the American Academy picking The Artist as its winner is not just a victory for that film specifically, but it's a victory for a certain vision of France, a certain perhaps rose-tinted, perhaps popular with foreigners kind of view of France, of it being very charming and full of mischievous, playful and extremely good-looking men. Now, on the inside, they do give a very, very flattering biography of Dujardin, saying that he's built a career on grimaces and clowning and turning it into an art, saying that in Michael I can't pronounce the director's name, so I'm not going to try. He has found that a man who can use his body and his creative acting exactly to its full potential. But they also have a look at the marketing strategy that went into that film, which is rather clever and was run by the very famous Weinstein brothers, Bob and Harvey, who are known for taking small films and making them huge box office successes. They say there were a few key ingredients. Firstly, the way the film was promoted with as little Frenchness as possible. So if you were a lazy Academy voter and not paying too much attention, you might not even have known it was French. There's no French words in the film, of course, and Dujardin didn't give that many promotional interviews stateside to promote it because he can't really speak enough English. So instead they played up the cute little dog and the fact that it's in black and white and it's silent, everything that makes the film really unique. And of course there's also the way they promoted it, starting very small, the paper says, it was released on just 4 screens originally in the US, and then grew and grew and grew, and has now become one of the best-selling French films abroad of all time.
Now, surely the French film industry is hoping this is going to be a big international boost generally, not just for The Artist.
That's what Le Parisien's focusing on. They've got this very triumphant front cover, how the artist conquered the world. On the inside, their cartoon rather mocks just what's specific and unique about this film, that, as we were saying, other films will find it hard to copy that exact marketing strategy. The cartoon has the director brandishing his statuette saying, look, France has never shined so brightly in the world as it does in silent and black and white, and a kind of clown responding to him saying, no, not since the time of the mime Marcel Marceau, perhaps the last French star to really do well in the US, back when, in the time when The Artist was set in the 1930s. And that's the thing, it's a pretty difficult marketing strategy to repeat this with another film because it is so unique. So French film studios hoping that this is going to have a roll-on effect onto their films might not necessarily find that it works. They're saying that the Weinstein brothers have also bought up the rights to France's other big success of the year, Les Intouchables, which is a film about a black man from the poor Paris suburbs who becomes the carer of a very wealthy middle-class man in a wheelchair. They plan to release that in the US, not as a remake, but as an actual subtitled version. So we'll see if that will actually be digestible for American audiences.
No, absolutely. Now, is Jean Dujardin the only thing hogging the French headlines, or do we have something else?
Not quite. We have another favourite subject of the French papers, Dominique Strauss-Kahn. He's here on the front page of Libération. The headline here is Transparency, up until when? And this is because one of their journalists, Jean Quatremer, has published a book about sex and politics, and whether the Dominique Strauss-Kahn affair has really changed how French journalists see these things. They are notorious, of course, for keeping politicians' private lives very private and refusing to delve too much into them. That's something he really criticises. He attacks French journalists for getting too close to the corridors of power, for colluding and indeed for lying in order to keep politicians' private lives private. Now, the paper's editorial says there's a thin line to be trod here. On the one hand, you know, they don't want to go as far as what they call the British gutter press, but on the other hand, they realise that there's a before and after DSK, and something has to change in the way that French journalists work.
Okay, well, that's definitely one to watch. Thank you, Elena Casas.